Okay. 13.4. Evaluate inverse trig functions. All right, so just as a quick kind of review here before we get started, and in case you have not done your notes yet, then I'll give you this little review. But we have basically inverse values for sine, cosine, and tangent. Those are really the only ones that we deal with as far as inverses. The whole thing. Good enough. Okay. All right, so tangent and sine occur from minus pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. So they occur on this side. Cosine goes from 0 to pi. Which is up here. So anytime you're finding the inverse, your value should be anywhere from, for sine and tangent, minus pi over 2 to positive pi over 2, or for cosine from 0 to pi. You made it just in time.
Did your doctor see
What?
the writing?
No.
The heart?
Thanks.
Do you have a chapter first?
No.
Oh, yeah.
The buddy
I
says so.
know.
That's what you do when you break it.
All right, the first ones are to evaluate without the calculator, which means using your unit circle. Okay?
Dang
So-
it,
Wait, so on like the tests and stuff, are we gonna be able to use the unit circle?
So for all of chapter 13, you'll like fill one out, turn it in, I'll give it to you, and it'll be extra credit.
Okay.
For chapter 14, for the sake of time, you'll just be given one. Because by then you should know it. If you don't know it by then,
That's a problem.
you're probably just not going to. I've never had that happen, but just saying. All right, so these ones say to obviously evaluate without a calculator. Give your answer in both radians and degrees. Okay, so notice this means that this also, if in degrees, goes from negative 90 degrees to positive 90 degrees. This goes from 0 degrees to 180 degrees as far as like those values. So number 4 is the inverse tangent of negative 1. So on your unit circle, you're looking for where tangent is equal to negative 1. So it happens at 3 pi over 4 and at 7 pi over 4. But tangent only occurs on the right side, so I'm ignoring this side over here altogether.
So 7 pi over 4.
But it has to be from minus pi over 2 to positive pi over 2, so that means I have to count backwards. So this is actually minus pi over 4. Tangent values. Y'all were like, why are you going over this? You already did this. This is why. It goes from minus pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. 7 pi over 4 is bigger than any of those values. I don't need the facial expressions. So, in degrees, this would be the same thing as minus 45 degrees. Six, we have the inverse cosine of negative 2. So, I go to my unit circle and I find where cosine is negative 2. Is that on there? If it's not on there, then we write undefined. And if you were to type that into your calculator, it would tell you that there's an error, so you would know. I don't know if we'll have one that comes up as an error when we do them, but just so you're aware of that. Number 8, inverse sine of 1/2. So I'm looking for where sine, so the y value, is 1/2 on here. So that occurs up here in quadrant 1. It also occurs up here in quadrant 2, where the y value is 1/2. But sine only occurs on the right side, from minus pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. So it's pi over 6, or 30 degrees.
Do you want us to put both the pi and the degree always?
If you want all the credit, yes, because it says write your answer in radians and degrees. 10. Inverse cosine of negative 1/2. So I'm looking for where cosine, so the x value, is negative 1/2. So that happens up here. It also happens down here. Cosine occurs where?
In the top half.
On the top from 0 to pi, or 0 to 180. So that value would be 2 pi over 3, or 120 degrees. Let's see, one more example, because that's all of the ones that are on there.
Do you ever use, I think it's quadrant 3.
No.
Okay.
And the only way we use 4 is in the negative direction. Inverse tangent of negative root 3 over 3. So I'm looking for where tangent is negative root 3 over 3. That occurs in quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. But which thing do I look at for tangent?
The right side.
The right side. So what is the radian and degree value that gives us minus root 3 over 3?
11 pi over 6, or
Nope.
Pi over 3.
Negative pi.
Negative pi over 3.
Negative pi over 6. And what else? What's the degree? Negative 30. So it's down here, negative root 3 over 3. And so negative value, this is subtracting off a pi over 6, or subtracting off 30 degrees. So this is minus pi over 6, or minus 30 degrees. Questions about those ones? All right, now we're going on to the calculator ones. So you're going to need to grab your calculator. Now, this is what I would tell you with these ones is I'm going to write all 4 of the problems that we're going to do down. Because you have to give your answer in both radians and degrees. I would suggest you go through and do all of them in like degrees and then all of them in radians, or vice versa. So that way you don't have to keep changing your calculator mode back and forth when you do these ones. We're going to go to 2 decimal places for all of the stuff on this one. They don't like specify, but I'm just going to make the command decision that that's what we're doing. So I'm going to, like I said, write out all the problems and then we'll go from there. So 12 is the inverse sine of 0.18. 14 is the inverse cosine of 0.36. 16 is the inverse tangent of negative 0.75. And then 18 is the inverse sine of 0.8. So let's start with We've been doing radians first on everything, so let's start with radians. So make sure your calculator's in radian mode. We all remember how to do that. Go to mode and change it. So again, just like we talked about with the previous quiz, make sure you're paying attention when you're doing problems to what mode you're in so that you don't like get a problem wrong just because you're in the wrong mode. So to get the inverse trig function, you're going to have to hit second and then its respective trig function, and you'll notice right above it, it looks like this. You also may occasionally hear me say arc sine, arc cosine, or arc tangent. Those mean the same thing. It's just a different notation for them. So just be aware that sometimes I say that. That'll also kind of come up a little bit more in chapter 14 of like the word arctangent and stuff. But if you hear me use that, just know that it means the same thing as inverse, just two different names for it. So hit second sine, which gives you your inverse, and then 0.18. And so that ends up being a radian value of 0.18. And you need to put units on these because they aren't clear what they are, obviously. Then I do the same thing for cosine, hit second cosine, and then 0.36. I get 1.20 radians. And then tangent, second tangent of negative. Make sure you use the negative that's under the 3, not the minus sign on the right-hand side. What do we get on that one? Yep. And then we got another sine one, so second sine of 0.8. What do we get on that one? 0.93. Oh, I forgot to write radians on those. Now, on the degree ones, you obviously don't need to write out the word degree. Just put a degree symbol on it, and that's sufficient. So we're going to do all those problems again, but in degree mode. So change the mode over to degrees. And if you want to constantly change your calculator back and forth and just do one problem at a time, you can do that. If you do that, like, I'll show you. So I still have the previous problem like on my screen, and I just changed to degree mode. If I hit enter again, notice it takes the same exact problem, so I don't have to type it in again, and it just produces the other answer for me. So if you want to do that and change the mode back and forth, you can do that, or you can just retype it in every time. Either way is fine. So this one is the bottom one. So this is 53.13 degrees. I'm going to go back up to the top and start back again. But so, like I said, just change the mode and do them. So when I do the degree version of the first one, I get 10.37 degrees. Second one, I get, this one's going to round up basically everything, so 68.90 degrees. And if it ends in a 0, you don't have to write the 0, but if you want to, you can. And then the tangent one,
36.87.
negative 36.87 degrees. Questions about those? Now, just if you wanted to see that I was, not telling you a lie about this one, type in the inverse cosine of negative 2.
Error.
What does the
Why?
goto mean?
Go to
Oh.
means go to so you can fix it. Because it thinks that you typed something in wrong.
Why?
For the
Why say that?
There was no
68.9,
space
do you have to
go
put the
with the
0
two.
after or no?
I answered that question
Oh, I'm
already.
sorry.
No, you do not. If there's a 0 on, then you don't have to put it.
Why is it
Because it's a value outside of the domain of the problem.
That's why it says error domain.
So if it comes up and says error, first thing is hit go to and make sure you typed it in correctly. If you know you typed it in right, then obviously something's just wrong.
The lights just
Yes.
Yes.
You had to pay the power bill for the drink What, money like
Gracious. All right, the last one say to solve the equation for theta. So, I'm going to do like a generic example and then we'll get into a couple out of the book because there's not a ton of them here. So, solve for theta. So they tell us, or well, this is going to be the problem. They would tell us that the sine of theta is equal to negative 5/8, where 180 is less than theta is less than 270. So what that tells me is that this is occurring in quadrant 3. So if I wanted to solve and figure out what angle value theta is, then what I have to do is I have to take the inverse sign. So to undo something, we take its inverse. So essentially, like when you solve an equation, if you're going to divide, or if you have, let's say, you have 2x equals 3, right? And you want to solve for x. You're going to divide by 2. That's the inverse of what's happening to it. It was being multiplied, so we divide. That's its inverse, and we move it to the other side. We do the same thing with these trig functions. So I have the sine of theta. So to undo that, I take the inverse sine of theta. So theta is equal to the inverse sine of negative 5/8. Now, we're working in degrees. Pretty much all of these ones are going to be degrees, but make sure you're in degree mode, which I think is what we just finished in, so you should already be in that. So in your calculator, type in the inverse sine of negative 5/8.
Negative 5. I don't know how to do that.
Just do the negative and then 5 and then just use the division symbol. You can use the fraction option. If you hit alpha y equals, it'll bring up an option for you to actually type in a fraction, but you don't really have to do that with these ones.
So it looks like negative 5 divided by 8 and nothing.
Yeah. So this should have given you negative 38 we'll just go to 2 decimal places again for this, 68 degrees is theta. Now, something to remember, because these are this is the hardest stuff in this section. Sine and tangent occur on the right side. Cosine occurs on the top. So notice, I took the inverse sine of this, and it gave me a negative value. Okay, that's in between 0 and negative 90 degrees. You see that? That means that this value that it produced occurred down here in quadrant 4. Where's my answer supposed to be?
Quadrant 3.
Supposed to be over here in quadrant 3. So, I have to do something to find what the quadrant 3 angle is, because that's what I'm trying to solve for. Okay? So, not quite, but kind of on that path, but we're going to take what we did the other day where we were like adding 360 or, subtracting 180. And the easiest way, like there is like a rhyme and reason to it, but I'm going to be honest with you, the easiest way to do it is just to kind of like play the guessing game of what do I have to do to get it there. Okay? So, I know that I need it to fall over here. So, if I what I would do is I would just go, okay, well, basically, if I do 180 minus the negative 38.68, or essentially I'm adding the two things, then I get 218.68 degrees. Is that value in here?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is in there, so then this is my answer.
Well, that's cool.
If you're ever not sure if you've done this correctly, we can check it. I'll show you really quickly how to check it. you can type in the sign of whatever value you just found, so 218.68. Again, you'll need to make sure you're in degree mode when you do that, and figure out what that's equal to.
Oh, I did that wrong. Negative -0.62.
And then do -5 divided by 8.
Wow.
So those things match. So it's correct. Okay, essentially I just showed that this statement up here was true with the value that I found.
What's the
20. So same things, it's just now into the actual book problems. Cosine of theta is equal to -0.82. 180 is less than theta is less than 270. So this one again is in quadrant 3. So first thing I'm going to do is find the inverse cosine of this because I need to solve for theta. So we have theta is equal to the inverse cosine of -0.82. Somebody can tell me what that's equal to.
145.08.
Now that's because cosine produces what values?
Top half.
It produces top half, so that means that that value is somewhere up in here. But I need my answer where?
In the third quadrant.
In quadrant 3, so that means it needs to be down here somewhere. So, any idea what I need to do to figure out where that falls down here?
Add 90. See how
I think that will that work? I think it'll work. Did I type that in right?
That should be 235.
Like you're not okay.
Negative. Negative doesn't fit. It goes.
Let me go back. Wait.
214.
Yeah, it should be 360 minus the 145.08. So 214.92. And again, if we had done it the other way, which is basically what I was just looking at, is we would check it. So if you added the 90, you would have gotten 235.08. If you did the cosine of that value, it would not be equal to -0.82. It was equal to -5.72. So if we check this value, then it'll give you what you're looking for. It should basically be wherever it is here, like the value down here should essentially match it. Like how far off from here it is, it should be a matching value down here. 24. Tangent of theta equals -5.3. And we've got 90 less than theta less than 180. So first take the inverse. So we've got theta is the inverse tangent of -5.3.
Now it's in the second quadrant.
Yep, this one should be in quadrant 2. Does tangent produce quadrant 2 values?
Yeah.
Yes. Wait, no.
Quadrant 2
And
is
it's
only
only
for
that side.
cosine.
Yep, it's over here. So, inverse tangent of negative 5.3 gives us what?
Negative 79.3.
Negative 79.32. Yeah, whatever. Somewhere in that vicinity. So that means that value's down here. I need it up here. So what do I need to do to get from here to up here? This one should be the easiest one we've done.
180?
Yep, add 180. So 180 plus
100.68.
Why am I struggling? I guess I should technically say, well, it's plus a negative 79.32, but we're technically adding 180 to that value.
Huh?
I was just saying I technically should say minus, but then I was like, no, I should say plus, but it's like plus a negative number, so it gives you that value. And again, you could check that one if you were so inclined. All right, the last thing in this section, they want you to find the angle value. I think this should be a review from geometry a little bit, but they give us a triangle that looks something like this.
I'm done with triangles.
Triangles are the next two sections.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey,
That was a good try.
come on, I saw some.
Thanks.
For you?
You're still.
It's funny, like, watching me draw shapes that, like, aren't, you know, a square, a circle, a triangle on my iPad.
Yeah.
Doing, like, parallelograms.
Well, it makes it straight, right?
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
like
but it
the-
doesn't make a parallelogram straight.
It doesn't.
What?
Oh.
It turns it into a square.
I mean, what I mean, you can do like one line at a time.
Yeah, that takes forever, so I just am like, don't judge my shapes when I draw them. Alright, so we're solving for theta. So I need a trig function that associates theta with these other two sides. So what would that be?
So 6 is
Tan?
opposite.
Yep. Tangent of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent, so that's 6 over 1, or you could just call it 6.
Oh, it's this. Bless you.
And then I just got to take the inverse. So theta,
Equal to M.
inverse tangent of 6.
Inverse tangent of 6
Equal to
is
80.54.
80.54.
Shut up.
There you go.
You're
Yes, you. I mean this.
And then you can find the rest of the angles with that.
Oh.
And we'll be using stuff kind of like that to be solving triangles going forward
I'm really confused. I'm not confused. I'm just.
on how we're going to be solving the
brain's
rest of
just
this stuff.
farting.
No. We'll get into actually solving triangles and stuff. This is just kind of like your prereq to solve triangles in the next two sections.
I think I would have just used the Pythagorean theorem to find that other side.
Oh yeah, to find the other side I would. But you can find this angle now because we know that one and that one. All right, problems for this section. 3 through 19 odd. Those are the ones where you're just either looking at your unit circle or you're typing it in your calculator. And then
Don't forget to put your section number.
23,
It's worse. Worse than that.
25, and 27. Yes, write your section number at the top of your paper.
Yeah, you 13.
You put it on one of mine. I forgot.
I always forget.
Gonna be honest, your class isn't really the problem. There's 9 of you. It's a whole lot easier to figure out what section. And our stuff is like, while it's all the same, it's also all different. So it's a little easier to tell what's what. In geometry, it's like every section has been shapes.
Are we on 13?
So how am I supposed to tell? And they don't copy the question down. So how am I supposed to tell?